You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, we are back with another episode, another week of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. I hope that you guys have had a fabulous week so far, a fabulous weekend, and that things are feeling good for you. Remember that staying in your good feelings and not resisting good feelings is just so important for your growth and your ability to manifest in your business as well. But of course, that is not the name of this podcast episode. I really wanted to talk to you today about investing in your business and investment overwhelm in specific, because this is a topic that I've actually seen come up quite a bit, especially with a lot of the sales calls that I've been doing lately. And it just seems like there are two different camps here. There's the camp of, oh my goodness, what if I invest and it goes wrong? Or it's also the camp of, oh my goodness, I've already invested before. I've invested so much in my business already. You know, how is this going to be different? Or how do I know what investment is really going to be the one that brings my business to the next level? And of course, there are also people out there who have no problems with investing in their business. They're just like, you know what? This is good. I feel like it's good. I'm just going to go for it. And I mean, don't those people have it a little bit easier than us? Because I know that for me, I definitely am not that person. I need to research, really feel into it. And then once I kind of almost have my mind set or my mind made, then that's when I go on the discovery call with someone or I contact someone and I start inquiring about their services. But we're going to be talking about the questions that you need to ask yourself in terms of your next investment on this episode and how to make sure that your next investment really is going to be that 10x, really is going to be that investment that creates a 10x ROI. And the vast majority of the investments that I make in my business really do that for me. And the 10x ROI isn't necessarily just a monetary one. It can also be a freedom-based one. I know that my past business coach, while I didn't double my income after working with her because my income was already really good, what I did get is I got a ton of my time back. So I started working less and I was still making the exact same amount of money. So, I mean, that's a really amazing ROI as well, right? And I really just wanted to dive into this with you today and to see where you're potentially holding yourself back with your investments and how to tell when it's time to go all in. All right, so here we go. The first thing is asking yourself what investments you've made in the past and asking yourself if those investments were the right investments for you at that right specific point in time. So what do I mean by this? If you have, and I know that I've had a few clients like this now where they're like, oh, well, I hired, an assistant. I've heard this a lot actually. Hiring assistants, especially when you're super new in your business and you're not really seeing the ROI. The reason why so many people don't see the ROI in terms of hiring assistants when they're brand spanking new in their business is because of the fact that they don't necessarily have the messaging, the sales strategy, all of those pieces in place. And so when you don't have those pieces in place, you're essentially hiring someone to do something that you don't really know how to do yourself, if that makes sense, that you don't know that is a proven strategy, a proven way for you to get clients yourself. And this becomes really difficult because then when you've already invested that money in one thing and it doesn't work out the way that you want it to, then you're kind of wary about the next investment that you're going to take. And I've seen this a lot with a lot of women who I speak to, where it's just like, okay, but I invested in this thing. Or there are a few coaches and mentors out there and strategists who don't really fully know what they're doing. And what I've seen as well is, paying for a program, but not really feeling like you got what you paid for. And I think that that really sucks in our industry. I think this really comes from all of the dogma of you don't have to work hard. You don't have to work hard on your course. You don't have to spend hours, doing your course. You just have to show up. You're already enough. Like all of this rhetoric, while it's helpful, it's also incredibly, incredibly misleading. And I think it makes quite a few people overcharge for the quality and for the knowledge that they are providing. And so I teach high ticket. Don't get me wrong. I love high ticket, but I make sure that myself and my clients are putting the quality and the knowledge behind it and not just giving people fluffy programs in return. So those type of investments, I totally understand. If you've ever felt like you've been in that type of situation, I can understand why you would also be wary of your next investments. I'd also know that that is a minority of cases. The vast majority of coaches, business coaches, mentors, strategists, everyone out there is doing a fantastic job. And I think especially the people who really know their worth and who are putting a team in place and also investing in themselves and in their businesses really have a lot of great material, a lot of great strategies to give to their clients. But of course, there are always a few people here and there who are not doing the best job in our industry. Let's just be honest. And so being mindful of that and being mindful, if you've had that experience before, being mindful of the fact that it's okay and you will get a mentor who's going to give you everything that you need, and you will get a mentor who's going to support you the way that you want to be supported, and believing that that is out there is also really important if that has happened to you. Fortunately for me, that's never happened before. I've always invested in really, really incredible mentors, but at the same time, it's because I've done my research inside and out. Before I hire someone, I make sure I know everything about them. Do they have a podcast? Are they more active on Facebook, Instagram? How many people have they worked with? What are the results that they've given their clients? All of those things are just so, so important to look through as well. So that's basically what I'm talking about in terms of investment overwhelm and how to make sure that you're going to 10x your ROI. But the very first question here, in terms of the investments that you've made in the past and the investments that you are going to make, is, have you been putting in the action, or are you willing to put in the action you need to make those investments work? So in the past, if you've invested in something, are you being 100% honest with yourself that you put in the work and the effort for that investment to really 10x? This puts the ball back into your court because it no longer makes you a victim, right? So I'm always trying to get my people into a place of empowerment rather than a place of enabling. Of course, I also want to acknowledge the fact that there are inequalities and injustices. But overall, one of the best ways that you can take control of your investments and you can take control of your actions is by acknowledging where you could have messed up as well. And so one of the biggest questions here is, did I actually give it my all? Was I putting the time and the dedication into that investment in order for it to work? Okay. That's a huge, huge question to ask yourself. And it's also a huge question to ask yourself if you're going to make a new investment. And I always tell this to people when they're wary of making their next investment in their business is, well, are you going to put in 110%? Because I know as a coach, I'm going to give you 110%. I really can stand behind that. It's a part of a lot of the incredible testimonials that I get, and it's also a part of who I am. I'm supportive. I practice what I preach. I give what it is that I say I'm going to give. I over-deliver on many aspects. And so I can say that for myself. But for the other person who's about to invest in my services and they're hesitant, my question is, well, are you going to put 110%? Do you know that you're going to give this all that you can? Because if you know that you're not, maybe that's why you're also hesitant. And if you're not, then ask yourself why. Ask yourself, what is the other priority here? What is the other thing that I'm going to give more time and attention to, and why? And is that, and should that be, a better or a bigger priority for me? And if it is, why? So I'll give you an example. I am hesitant to, do something else in my business. I'm hesitant to invest in another thing in my business because I don't want to take time away from my kid, right? I don't want to take time away from my child. I'm already taking this amount of time away from my child. I don't want to take more time away from my child. Okay, well, this is why you might be hesitant to invest, right? Because you know that your time with your child comes at a priority for you. And this is why you're just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if I should do this. I don't know if I should or shouldn't, because you know that you wouldn't give it 110%. If you didn't have to spend so much time with your child, let's say, for example, if you were not working your full-time job, or you had childcare or something like that, when you have a specific excuse or another thing that you can use to help you with that decision, it just becomes obvious. It's just like, okay, well, yeah, I have all the time to do this. I know that this investment feels really, really scary to me, but I'm going to do it anyways because I know that I'm going to give my all. And when I give my all, I'm going to make it work. And so with an excuse like that, then you'd have to ask yourself, okay, well, what is my priority right now, right? Do I spend enough time with my kid or do I not? And that is only a question that you can answer for yourself, right? It's okay, well, it could either be well, no, I really only have 2 hours every day to spend with my kid. I really, my kid's only young once. It's really, really important for me to spend this time with them. Or you can also say, I think I do spend enough time with my kids. I think I'm just making this excuse because I'm scared, because I'm really afraid of the success that I can see, or I'm actually afraid of failure, right? And only you can decide that, and only you can know which one of those two things is the most accurate for you, and if it's actually a priorities problem or if it's just an excuse. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So acknowledging what you've been putting into action and how you're going to be utilizing this investment to make it work is a huge, huge part of understanding what kind of ROI you're going to get from it. And if you're the type of person who's just constantly doing a whole bunch of different things at once, but you still manage to get all of those things done because you're doing all of them scared, then I would also just acknowledge for myself that this is just a part of who I am, and that's okay. Because that's another thing that I see a lot is, oh, well, I always take on so many different things, and I don't know if I can take on this business investment as well, or I don't know if I can go all into my business. Okay, but you did your coaching certification, or you did that course in order for you to be able to do this work. So why wouldn't you want to go all in with it now? Why are you going to procrastinate this aspect of it? Does that make sense? A lot of the times we hold ourselves back by thinking that we don't have time versus we've had time for other things. And we also want to make sure that things are perfect, but in reality, they're never going to be perfect. We have to do things scared. So I hope that also helps with that first question. Today's episode is brought to you by the Rapid Expansion Method, which is the proven 90-day program to help you sign on consistent higher paying clients and hit that six-figure mark in your business with more leadership, alignment, and flow. So if you are either brand spanking new to your service-based business or you are having trouble breaking the 2 to 3K mark per month, you need this program. We go all in on exact strategies that you need to sell yourself online and to book out your services solid. Find out what social media strategies are the best for you and your niche, while also being surrounded by brilliant female entrepreneurs who are go-getters just like you and are committed to your success. You can find out more about this incredible program at sarahjlarero.com/the Rapid Expansion Method, or go ahead and look over into our show notes for more information. The second question that you want to ask yourself in order to really 10x your ROI, and so this is really about making sure that you are making the investments that are going to get you to the next level, is asking yourself, Are you investing at the level that you need to in order to see those results? This is huge. I've seen people talk to me about this all the time. I've seen women come into my group program or want to come into my group program and say, well, I took a group program before. The very first thing that I always ask is, how many people were in that group program? Tell me, how many people? Okay, well, 100 or 50 or 200. Okay, well, out of those 200 people, how could one coach or mentor possibly give you one-to-one time or the time that you need in order for you to get the results that you want to see? Anyone can teach you a strategy, right? Anyone can have a video that you press play with and teach you a strategy. But if you're not getting hands-on feedback for what you are doing, then you're just kind of following your own mind blindly. You don't know if your own mindset is getting in the way of you creating the right messaging for your clients. You don't know if your mindset is getting in the way of you actually doing the consistent amount of outreach that you need to do every day. And so a lot of the times what I see is people are like, okay, well, I'm going to invest in these tiny things in my business, but I'm not going to invest in these big things. Because these tiny things, okay, well, they're teaching me something similar. You know, they're teaching me that they can help me to sign on consistent clients or something like that. But when you look at the value equation of those two investments, they are not alike whatsoever. Because when you're in a very small group format for your business, you're going to receive a lot more coaching. You're going to receive a lot more support and a lot more time and dedication from the person who is offering you that program versus being in a program with 100 or 200 or thousands of people. It's just not the same. And so oftentimes we do this because we're just like, okay, well, if I only invest a little bit, right? I'm sure that you've told yourself this before. If I only invest a little bit, then if it doesn't work or if it falls through, it's no big deal. I only invested a little bit, right? I only invested $100. I only invested $200. And not to mention that when you invest at those levels, it also makes you perform at those levels. It makes you perform at okay, well, it was only a $200 program, or it's only a $100 program, right? There's not a whole lot at risk here. It's okay. I'm not taking too many risks. And because you're not taking too many risks, you're also not taking too many risks in your actual business because there's nothing to lose, right? Versus if you were to invest at the levels that you want to receive results at. And let me tell you something. This is something that has always helped me when I'm trying to grow my business is if I'm not willing to invest 20% of what it is I want to make, then chances are I'm not ready to make that amount. So what I mean by this is if you're not ready to invest $20,000 to get a $100,000 business, and I don't mean $20,000 a month at once, it could be over the course of a year. It could be over the course of a year and a half. It all depends on what you want. I'm not saying that you also have to invest $20,000. You can probably invest a little bit less or a little bit more. Everyone's really different. But if you're not willing to invest that amount, if you're not willing to invest $40,000 to get a $200,000 business, you're not ready for that $200,000. There's still some sort of fear there that's not allowing you to, right? 20% is a really, really great number for you to gauge at, okay, am I really investing and am I really doing everything it takes in order for me to really get to this next level that I really want to get to? All right. And the last question to ask yourself is, well, what if it works? And I love this question because so often when we're thinking about investing in our businesses, it's always, well, what if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work? What if it doesn't work out? Right? And we fill ourselves with that fear. And because of the fact that we're filling ourselves with that fear and because we're even allowing that fear to penetrate through our energetic bubble also means that we are allowing the fear to dictate what we want. And if the fear is telling us to not do it because it might not work out, we're essentially telling ourselves, okay, well, I'd rather make a decision based on it might not work out than make a decision based on what if it does work out. And when you are making decisions based on it might not work, you're allowing the fear to pull you. You're allowing the fear to make the decision. And you're betting against yourself. You're betting against your dreams. If you're telling yourself, I really want a 6-figure business, and you have this really, really great investment in front of you that could potentially work really well. And it could also not work very well at all, right? Every single investment, businesses are risky. If you don't want risk, you probably shouldn't be a business owner. You probably shouldn't be an entrepreneur because it's full of risks, right? Everyone has to go through that. They're risky. And so if you are kind of sitting there at that crossroads and you're thinking to yourself, okay, well, the decision that's going to support my growth is the decision to invest in this. And I really, really want this 6-figure business. But I'm so afraid that these investments aren't going to work. So I'm going to say no to each and every one of them. Your business isn't going to grow. You're not going to get to that 6 figures because you're not making decisions that are going to correlate with you getting to those 6 figures. You're making decisions based on, I might not get there. And so when you're making decisions based on, I might not get there, you're not going to get there. Okay? You want to make decisions that support that growth. And so a really great question here is, what if this next investment is the one thing that you do need? And I will go back to last year in 2020 when I had tried a few different strategies. And I mean, they worked, but they weren't working to the level that I needed them to work to. And so I was at this really great consistent income, but I wanted to double that really great consistent income. And most people would tell me that I'm crazy about that, but that's totally fine. I am not most people. I go above and beyond. I want to be extraordinary. And so I wanted to find out how I was going to be extraordinary and how I could do that. And so many of those initial investments and so many of those initial decisions didn't go the way that I wanted them to. But then I was faced with a decision that I made in, I think it was February of 2020, but I only actually pulled the plug about mid-March. I was a little bit stubborn. This is why I teach about this stuff, because I've been through it myself as well. And so I was a little bit stubborn with this investment, and I waited until mid-March to do it, mid-March of 2020. Coincidentally, mid-March of 2020 was when everything hit the fan in the world and the pandemic hit, and I was scared for my life because I had no idea what I just got myself into, but it was actually the best decision that I had ever made for my business. I had barely any money to make this investment. Okay. I did not have the money in my account for all of the 6 payments that I made in order to make this work. But I knew that if I betted for myself, that it was going to happen. And I think not enough people are willing to put themselves into that fear-based place. And they're not willing to put themselves into that place of like, okay, I'm just going to figure it out and I'm just going to go for it. And because I put myself into that space and because I was like, you know what, it's going to happen or it's going to happen. It's going to work no matter what. I'm going to put the time and effort into it. I had a baby. I had a 6-month-old at that time, but I told myself that I was going to make it work, and I doubled my income the next month. And I continuously started making double the income that I made the year before. And it was as a result of that one investment. It was a result of that one thing where I asked myself, well, what if this is the exact thing that I do need? And it was, and it worked. And so that is what I'm going to leave you with, that whole idea of, well, what if it works? What if you fly? What if everything is even better than you imagined? But in order to do that, you need to take those risks. You need to choose your hope over your fear. You need to make sure that you are moving in towards empowerment rather than moving in towards your own enabling. That is how you're going to get really great results. And that is how you're going to 10x your ROI. What if it works? Okay. Let that be your next question for yourself when the next investment that you need to make is presented to you. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. I hope that it is just sparking so much energy and creativity and motivation inside you. I would love to hear from you in terms of what you thought of it. You can send me a DM over at Instagram at Sarah without an H, J, Loureiro. So Sarah J. Loureiro. And if you enjoyed this episode, go ahead and hit subscribe, hit like, or send me a review. It would mean the world to me. Thank you so, so much for watching and listening, and I will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.